Hello, welcome everyone. This is the second in our mini series with the associate coaches inside my program Amplify. Delighted to welcome Lauren Van Mullem to the group. Lauren is our resident copy coach in Amplify. You literally save my bacon every single day with the amount of feedback you give to people. Messaging is one of those pieces where if you don't have this block right, nothing else can work. Like you can't get traction, you can't grow your audience, you can't get clients. And it's one of those things that can be hugely time consuming because you can be creating like all of this content and just finding it's not resonating with the right people or it's not moving them into action. So our goal in this video is to give you some really proactive things that you can be doing to consider your copy, your message. Someone pulled me up the other day for using the word copy and said it's jargon. So I'm going to say like your content, your messaging, to make some simple tweaks. Lauren, I would love it if you could introduce yourself, tell everyone a little bit about you, your background, and where they can find you.
Yes. So I'm Lauren. You can find me at truerwordsbylauren.com and you can find me in Amplify. And I've been copywriting for, I think I worked it out, 13 years. I just did an official count of my client docs and it is hundreds. I can say hundreds very honestly. That was a surprising moment. It's like upwards of 300 clients that I've worked with over the last dozen and change years. And they have run the entire spectrum from giant inflatable waterslide companies when I was starting out, travel, just every kind of business. And then I ended up with software as a service, which was really on the cutting, what they call bleeding edge of marketing tactics. And I got very much into customer success, which is kind of the nicer end of that. But it's like, what do people need to be successful? And there's a lot in there that is such good training for amazing copy because it's about understanding people. So then I changed to only working with coaches. Coaches are my love. They're my niche, but they're more than my niche. They light me up. So that is my specialty now. I am a copywriter for coaches specializing in ethical copy.
And your tagline was one of the reasons. So I actually asked in this group and I was like, I'm looking for an amazing copywriter. I've got like an opportunity, like a collaboration with them. Who knows, like good copywriters. And this is the importance of niche, guys, right? Because I went to your website and it was like, I write ethical copy for coaches. And I was like, yes, someone that doesn't buy into like manipulative, like overly persuasive tactics that basically push people to buy not from a good place, but from a like pushing sales place. So it was like your values and how well your website was written. Obviously, you're a copywriter, that made like this collaboration and partnership happen in the first place. And like, if you run a program, you will need support from other coaches. And for me, giving feedback, copy feedback, like I'm a good copywriter, but I'm not like, I don't do it day in, day out. It's not my, I don't teach it. Like I don't, like, I bring my past experience as an English teacher and my general good ability at writing rather than like formal training and like having done it again and again. So in Amplify, the magic for me is Lauren gives feedback on everything: landing pages, lead magnets, social posts, emails, and to have that expert eye on your copy to say, have you thought about this? Or you might want to change this or challenge you on the jargon and all of this stuff. It like, for me, it just unlocks for clients because and I see them right under your feedback. Like everyone's so happy because Lauren manages to wrap up not bad feedback, but like critical feedback in one giant hug. So you're like, thank you so much. I don't know how you do it. It's a real skill, and I do not have the patience you do for, for giving feedback.
My husband would laugh so hard at this.
It's a skill. It's a skill. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be giving you some quick wins for improving your copy, but we're also doing this rare offer, right? If you drop some copy below, I say this tentatively because if this goes mad, I'm not sure we can uphold this commitment. If you drop some copy below, like a social post or something you've written, a sales post, in the comments, we will do our best to live critique it. Either now or we'll come back later and live critique it for you and give you some feedback on it. But we're going to dive into how you can improve your content today. So, Lauren, let's start with like, what are the common things that you see that people tend to need help with?
Um, Jargon is one. Once we pop out of a coaching program, we have all of these new words that have embedded themselves in our brains, and we know the words, and the other people who have graduated know the words, and our ideal clients have no idea what they mean. So that's one, is just becoming aware of the coaching, the coach speak, the industry jargon, cleaning that up, and then really clarifying what are we saying? What do we actually need to say to convey the value that we're really bringing, and making that really clear. It's clarity. Copywriting at its core is just how clear can we possibly make this? And then understanding what our clients really, really want. And so, without getting too Spice Girls, tell me what you want, what you really, really want, which gets lodged in my brain on an almost daily basis, because that is what I'm telling so many of the, not just Amplify students, but my clients as well, is what do your clients really, really want? And we're working with levels of awareness. We're working with, are they aware of the pain that they're having right this second, which is a symptom, or are they aware a couple lines down of what is causing that problem, and then bringing that whole story concisely into a piece of sales copy. And it can be short and it can be long, and it can be a badass Google Doc, which is your beautiful template for a longer sales piece. But that storytelling is what I help people with, I would say, the most.
Let me just pick up on a couple of things you said there, because you said like we need clarity, and I think the challenge that people have is either they've been taught that they need to be really concise, so they're trying to say it as simply as possible, and they end up using these like summary terms like "Are you stressed?" and it's like it means nothing. So it's like you have to stretch out to get clarity, but then ideally it is concise. So then it's like this constant like backwards and forwards of like, please just be clear, and then we'll make it sound good. But because people are trying to make it sound good, they lose the clarity piece. So that's like one big thing. And secondly, you just get out of touch of what is jargon. Like someone saying to me the other day, the word copy, like, are you a press? Are you in the press? And I was like, oh, well, no, I guess not. I shouldn't say copy. And we just assume that everyone knows the word copy, when really we mean what? Written words, like your content, the stuff you are writing for social media, the stuff you are writing in email. So you get kind of jargon blind as well.
Oh, absolutely. It infects us everywhere. I think it's one of the main reasons, one of the many reasons I left software as a service. I could not take that particular jargon. I couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah.
Coaching jargon, at least, is kind of fun.
Yeah. And there's one other thing I wanted to pick up on that you just said that I don't think some people are even aware of, and that's market sophistication. And that
Mm.
is how, where in the how do we explain this in a jargon-free way? Some people are aware they have a problem, what the problem is, what's causing the problem, and all of the solutions that are available. Whereas some people just don't know. They might be aware they have a pain, like a headache, but they have no idea what's causing it, what solutions there might be to solve it. And so can you just share a little tip on like where can people start with market sophistication and understanding where they should be writing their copy to?
Mm. This is where you really have to get to know your ideal clients, and that there's no substitute for actually talking to them, interviewing them, bribing them to tell you, like, I will buy you coffee if you will sit down with me and tell me all about your problems. It's that kind of research that will deliver the answers. So what they will start talking about is, well, I have a pain. I have a thing that is wrong in my life. And that's what they're aware of. Now, some people, some ideal clients, some niches, stop right there. It's like, oh, I've got a headache. What do I do? And then it becomes your job, the business owner's job, to say, well, let's see, are you dehydrated? Have you been staring at a screen all day? So you start to peel back the layers and find what I call the problem under the problem. So it's a lot of psychology, but really it's conversation. It's having those discussions, figuring out what's really the issue. Let's take a more coachy one. I've got one coach who works with women business owners who have ADHD like tendencies. So diagnosed or not, they're very scattered, disorganized, they struggle to focus. Now, they are aware that they struggle to focus, they struggle to get organized, they're all over the place. They typically have a million and one interests and they're, trying to focus on one thing and get it done, and then they have another idea and they're bringing it in. And that's what they're aware of. And then she knows that there are other layers on top of that. And then the copy just leads them on a little journey where they have an aha moment. So you're leading them from the symptom aware to deeper levels of, oh, that might be it. And once you give them the aha moment, they think you've got the answer, and you probably do. So that tends to make the sale.
100%. And this is one of my favorite things that I learned somewhere along the line, and I can't remember who said it, is like when you create awareness in your ideal client, they associate you with having the answer, regardless of whether you do. They're like, this person can solve my problem because they've shared clarity, they've shared insight. And therefore, I really like to see marketing, like when people get really caught up in their messaging, I'm like, just focus on shifting perspectives. Because if you shift perspectives, you're going to be someone that people want to read your next message to see, am I going to get an aha? What am I going to learn? What's this going to add to my day? And then you establish credibility.
Yes.
So let's move on to quick wins then. Like, if people are looking at their messaging right now and they're listening to what we're saying, like, what are some quick wins to have them make progress in this area?
Let's see. Repeat that question one more time.
So if people are looking at like the last piece of copy they wrote, maybe it's an email or a social post, what are some quick wins for them to look at this with a critical eye and think, what are some improvements that I could be making?
Okay. The first thing I will look at, and this is true of any copy, any content, whether it's a homepage or a sales page or a badass Google Doc or an ad on Facebook, I will look at the first 2 to 3 lines and I will see if it tells me what it is, who it's for, and what it helps them do. So you want to establish that clarity right up top. Don't leave it a mystery. Don't get poetic. Don't get fancy. That's some of the worst things you can do, especially on those top few lines. So you want the title, if it's a title and tagline situation, you want to make it very clear to people who are your ideal clients that you are in the right place. This is who this is for. This is the problem we solve. This is where we get you. If you do that, you've set yourself up for success. So that's the quickest win I can think of.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah,
Is that
please.
people tend to think this critically, like when they're writing a sales page, but they don't necessarily think about it for their social posts. Now, if you
Mm,
help 6-figure CEOs, right, then every single social post should start like 6-figure and obviously we don't want it to become so formulaic, like people just, it's literally start 6-figure CEOs. But if you can find a way within the first 3 lines to have people immediately clear they're reading the right thing, more of the right people are going to read it. Whereas you bury the who, or you think, oh, they already know what I do, or they already know who I help, you're missing the point that you have to call them out every single time, if not through their identifier, through the problem. Like when you're a 6-figure business owner and you struggle with X, immediately I'm like, oh, okay, this is something I should be reading. Whereas if you just start jumping into a post without calling out who it's for and what you help them with, you're just cutting your readership, because people just don't know if they're in the right place and if it's worth 7 seconds of their life to read the next paragraph.
Yeah, I love that. Um, so I think, okay, so the second quick one I can think of is actually riffing off of that, getting rid of super formulaic language. So I see a lot of what I call the drug company commercial structure. Um, yeah, it's like, are you feeling tired? Do you struggle to get out of bed? And it's that question intro that sounds like a drug company commercial, and those are the absolute worst. So I love, like, it's the quickest win in the world. If you have that, and so many people do, if you let your AI write your copy, it will give you the question intro. Apparently, AI knows drug company commercials, or maybe it's been writing them all along, but it will give you the questions. You just flip them to statements, and it takes that weird formulaic, salesy resonance right out. And it actually makes you feel like, it makes them feel that you have these insights into their lives and their minds, and it works a lot better.
So I've got another quick win, and this is based on listening to your feedbacks to people. And that is using, and you're doing this quite naturally in your speech, right? Which makes you an engaging person to listen to. You're dropping in these like tiny micro examples of like, oh, you know those drug companies that always say like, are you tired? Are you X, Y, and Z? And in our copy, we have this huge opportunity to use micro examples of our ideal clients' lives. And by that, it's like, do you pick up your favorite mug in the morning and X, Y, and Z? I can't think of an example. Like micro tiny examples that bring color into who you are, but also show your ideal client that like they are resonating. Like if you're doing, you did a Spice Girls reference, for example, right? That's clearly going to attract some people, and other people are going to be like, God, Lauren, like it was 30 years ago, for God's sake. Let go of the Spice Girls. So it's
Valid.
you're adding micro, like, and it can be humorous, but it doesn't have to be humorous, depending on your brand. Really elevates your written copy from being just like, oh, here's another content media post, to like, here's something playful, here's something engaging, here's something that gives me an idea of like what this person is about.
I am so glad you brought that up. It is. I don't know if it's a quick win, because people do tend to struggle with it. But I ask them, paint me a picture, and usually I'm asking them to paint me a picture of a 3 a.m. moment in their clients' lives. Like 3 a.m. is when you are wide awake, worrying about the thing that is bothering you, or letting the cat out, or peeing. But usually it's one of those three. So I asked them to write, what is this 3 a.m. moment in your client's life? What are they worrying about? What is it like to lie in bed and you are staring into the black and you are thinking about this? And it's really giving those details and the visuals that will draw people into the story, and they'll recognize themselves. They will see themselves in this mirror that you're creating.
I love that. So we've had someone drop in some copy. So I'm just gonna think about how we can, maybe should we do this live? I was just thinking,
I'm game.
what's the best way of us doing it so you can see it, Lauren? Because I'm not sure you can see the comments.
No, I can't. You can, I can't.
Okay, let me read it out. Okay, and we'll see if we can do it auditory.
Okay.
So Sarah, thank you for sharing your copy. I help mums who are doing it all to win at the juggle struggle so they can live a life with love without the mum guilt.
Hmm. I love a good without clause. The only question that I have that I think might benefit from some clarification is, what does it mean to live a life of love?
So let me read you the next bit she wrote. I think about their desires. They want to be present for their children, but work gets in the way. It feels like there aren't enough hours in the day. They want to be They want more me time to be a nicer person, but they are juggling so many balls they can't pick up another one. I help them to see the balls they can drop and make space for the really important balls. Make sense?
I love that. That is a fantastic niche description. And I'm a big fan of the dropping balls metaphor. That's very client language for me. Like that's the language I would use for my own problems. So yeah, as a niche descriptor, I think that works pretty well. It's very clear. I'm wondering what gets in their way. Why is it hard? That's one of my favorite questions is, okay, here's what they're struggling with. Here's what they want. Why is it hard? What's that middle bit?
And my question to you, Sarah, would be, and this is less on your copy and more just on a niching piece, is that every mum I knows struggles with the juggle struggle, right? And not every mum I know is going to pay for help with this.
Mm.
So my question to you is how can you differentiate the point in their lives or the point where this is a painful enough problem that they actually need to invest in help and not just like every mum in the world.
And you could even position it to mums who are actively looking to support themselves, give themselves supportive structures every way they possibly can. Because I know that I've talked to some of my mom friends who can afford a lot of fantastic help, and they're like, "Yes, we could not do it without this." I know a lot of moms do, but that is something that's very important to them. So just knowing that there are people out there who love to just cushion themselves in every possible way to make such a hard job a little easier.
And my final question for you, Sarah, is like, is the problem, what is the core problem? Right? Like, is it that they are working too much and that is impacting how they are being present and showing up? So then you're going to message it around like to those almost like workaholic mums or those mums in high pressure jobs, and they feel that daily guilt that they are not able to be present for their kids and they know they have to shift something, otherwise they're going to look back in 20 years time and regret missing out on their kids' childhood. Or is it not to do with that? Is it nothing to do with work? Is it, and what are these balls? Like, we're mentioning these balls, but we're not defining these balls, which means you're kind of staying a bit vague in like who we're actually helping. Like, do I have am I a carer? And I'm using extreme examples now to show you that it can mean anything, right? And you might say, oh, but it could mean anything. But then my challenge to you would be like, it's hard to attract anyone for anything, but it's much easier to attract, like, to pick some balls and say, like, these are the balls, like you're working too much and that's impacting that. Or is the core thing that they're not being present with their kids caused by something else? Right. We have another one to do, and then we will dive into another question before we wrap up. So Joe
Oh, that's
says,
so cool.
um, what happened to us, question mark, exclamation mark. I think that's the headline. What happened to us? Um, Therapeutic coaching for couples in crisis. Find deeper and more real love, even in the midst of crisis, without either of you compromising who you are.
Oh, there are some fun opportunities there. I know we're working with crisis, but I'm like, oh, we can have some fun with this. I'm such a jerk. Um, so the the details are what's missing, and the details are what can really bring this to life. So I would perhaps use crisis once, but the second time you use that word, I want you to take that out and replace it with something so incredibly, laughably specific, like just a really specific instance that is common to many of your couples. It's not going to be common to every single one, but like if it is something that most people can, whoa, I feel very seen, I feel a little called out, that level of specificity, um, like just a really common argument maybe, and be really specific about it. I know my, my husband absolutely hates the way I load the dishwasher. That is a point of contention for the last 10 years of our blissful married life. Um, so I would find something hyper specific like that that's maybe a little funny, but also very like, oh, I feel seen.
Yeah, I love that. So this comes back to the micro examples, and I think sometimes people shy away from them because they think, oh, that won't be relevant for everyone.
Hmm.
Whereas really, it doesn't have to be relevant for everyone. If it's a really common example, they'll still see truth. So it could be like, even if you've been having the same argument for 10 years about how to load the dishwasher correctly, or even if you're still
Perfect.
arguing about Barry down the gym who flirted with you that one time 6 years ago. So it's just like humor, even in a very serious thing. And obviously you can play up or play down how much you want to bring. Like it doesn't have to be about Barry from the gym, because it could be, what's the thing people keep arguing about. And she's written underneath, like, they're at the point where one person's like, fearing splitting up, that might be a better option. So you could play around with that. Like, even if you're half looking at rental properties 50 miles away, like play around with like alluding to what they're thinking of and saying there's still hope, right?
Fantastic. That really gets into their minds. It is a bit like mind reading, right? When you really know your client that well.
And you have to dare to say it. If they're thinking, like if they're checking out Rightmove, say it. Like, yeah. Okay, so how do you clearly articulate the value of an offer? Like, what are the most important things to include? Is there a process you use?
Let's see. When we're looking at the value, we've got to figure out it's that little journey of the awareness from the symptom to the problem. So, what's the symptom that you're helping with? And what is the end result that they're really going for? There is a fantastic meme that is so old now, but it's still my favorite. And it is Super Mario. I'm showing my age. Super Mario, and he's got his firepower flower. So Super Mario is the client, and he's got this firepower flower, and that is the tool, that is the thing that he can use. And then he's throwing the firepower flower at the Goomba. Yeah, I know all of these phrases. I did save the princess. But what he really wants is not to throw fireballs at little mushroom guys. He doesn't want that. Like, it's a cool thing to do. It's probably a lot of fun. That's not what he's after. He wants to save the princess. So, when you are figuring out what your clients really want and the value you truly deliver, you're helping them save the princess. You've got to keep them in mind. And most people stop short. They stop at the firepower flower, they stop at the little mushroom guys. They don't get all the way to the actual ideal outcome. And my favorite phrase for that is so you can.
Yeah.
So I help you do this and that so you can, and that will give you, usually that'll give you the answer.
And I love that because, like, so many people get in their heads, like, but I can't promise that result, Gemma. I can't promise that result. I'm like, no one's promising shit, right?
Right.
We're not promising, but if you don't have the courage to speak to aspirationally where your clients want to be, you're not even getting them to a place of hope, right? And people have to be in a state of hope to buy. Otherwise, you want them to buy from a place of fear and thinking this is never going to change. So, aspiration, so you can buy that yacht, get that extension, book that holiday, finally spend an hour present with your kid, like, whatever it is, you have to speak aspirationally. I love that. um what information do people need in order to make a decision?
I am a huge fan of transparency. So when I approach a sales page or your badass Google Doc, which I am madly in love with, it's such a perfect template. Um, when I'm approaching that, I'm really thinking, what are the nuts and bolts? What are the really fundamental things that people need to say, yes, I can have this in my life? And for me, it's let's make sure there's a fit, a problem solution fit. So can you solve the problem in a way that they have not tried before? And is it likely to work for them? So that's you making the case of why your system solution works when the other things they've tried haven't gotten them all the way to where they want to go. And then you've got to do the really simple things like how much time is this going to take? And can they fit that into their calendars? Usually, yes, but sometimes it might be a super intense program and it might be a super intense time in their lives. It's not going to be a good fit. They're not going to make it. So I want all of my clients, I want all of their clients, I want everybody to succeed. And I want to give them the information to make the decision that, okay, I'm going to succeed with this. So time commitment is huge. Things like here are the call times, here's what it looks on a calendar for the next 3 months. That can be really helpful to give a visual aid. And then there's, do I like and trust this person? So you have to build some know, like, and trust into that. They need to know that they can trust you with their hard-earned money and their time. You're asking a lot of them, especially in these group programs. So they have to be really confident.
And if you're like, I'm curious, if people don't consider themselves a great writer, so I had a sales call just before this, right? And this person just joined Amplify, woo! And they attended my challenge last week, which was 3 videos. They haven't seen written anything, right? And I didn't even talk through the whole offer because she was just like, I'm in. Like, so it's like, I sometimes think people think, oh, I'm not a good writer, so I can't do this. So that sale happened entirely just through video and a call, right? Of me telling her the information. If people are fearful, like, but I'm not a persuasive writer, I'm not a good writer, is there hope for them?
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh gosh, I have a client right now, and she's dyslexic, and she has literally been told her entire life that she's a terrible writer. And I'm just like, I'm so sad about it because she's an incredible writer. And I keep trying to this is amazing. Like what you did right there is poetry. So yeah, a lot of times we underestimate our abilities, but even if you are truly the worst writer that has ever landed on the face of the planet, let's just say that is the case. I don't think it is, but let's say it is. You can write the worst draft in the world, and I encourage you to do so. Literally, I encourage you to do so. And as long as you get clarity, transparency, as long as you understand your clients, it's going to work.
Yeah. This is a bit like when people are dreadful at sales. Half the time, if I know, like, and trust them, and I know their offer is a good fit, I may be slightly live critiquing their sales process, thinking, right, there's some improvements you could make to this, but I'm already in, right? You don't have to be persuasive on a sales call if I already want, like, if there's a match between problem and result. And I'm always inspired by one of my first coaches, Lana Dingwall. And Lana's dyslexic, and she had this belief that she wasn't a good writer, so she built her business on video. But while she did that, she wrote to her list every single week. And now she is a phenomenal writer. So it's like, if you need to improve, and pretty much if there's one thing you want to improve at other than like video or writing in the online world, like practice. Like, don't be the one that says, I can't do it, doesn't post, doesn't get visible, doesn't show up because you're worried about your writing skills. You're worried about your ego, whereas you should be worried about like what your ideal clients need from you and need to hear from you. Because if you're not going to say it, who is?
Mm.
So my final question for you, Lauren, how do people get over that terrifying writer's block of sitting in front of the screen and just like, I don't know what to write?
Just have AI do it for you. No, don't do that. Please don't do that. That is an option now, but it's a terrible option. The funny thing is, I've been having conversations with other copywriters, and some of them will actually go to AI and have AI write their first draft. But they know how to alter it so it doesn't sound super salesy, disgusting, used car salesman, drug company commercial, because that's what AI will do. So I discourage that unless you are already a professional copywriter, which defeats the purpose. And instead, what I would love people to do is just be very be very brave and write the absolute worst draft you possibly can. Like, be egregiously bad. Aim so low it is laughable. So, and get silly. Have fun with it. Say the weirdest stuff that comes into your mind. And once you get past that blank page, you will have something to work with. And I guarantee everything you've written is not going to be terrible. You're going to find little bits that's like, oh, that is not bad. And then that is what you can start with. And it will get your subconscious mind on board working with you to figure out the rest. I'm a big believer in letting the subconscious do our writing for us.
I love that. So I would love to finish on just like if there was one thing you would love people to remember with their copywriting, like one tip, one like learning, what would that be? And I'll share one from me as well. Is like people always respond, they don't always respond. Lots of people respond to my emails and say, I really, really love your emails. Like they're one of the few I read. They're very thoughtful. They're very thought provoking. Like, how do you do it? And I'm like, I literally write the shit in my head. Like I'm not thinking, how do I write a good email? I'm just like, oh, you know when like people ghost you on sales calls after sales calls and it's really hurts because you put all this time and effort in and X, Y, and I'm just saying the thing, like the real life thing that's happening, and like, here's what I tend to do about it. And it's as simple as that. And I feel like people really get in their heads with like, it's got to be well written and I have to follow a structure and I have to do X, Y, and Z. And sure, you can improve at that stuff. And the more you do it, the more naturally it will come. But for me, if you just write down the conversation that you've had with someone into a post, it's going to be a good post.
Mm, that is the best advice I can think of for content, for emails, for blog posts, Medium posts. It's for me, that's all about being really personal, forging that personal human to human connection. And I don't think we can do that easily with a formula, but when we're just writing what comes into our heads from our lives, that's what creates that know, like I feel like I know you. Um, let's see. I would say have a bit of fun with those visual examples. I think that's the thing I'd love to see people practice the most. And this is probably advice for myself too. I think we could all practice this, but making those really visual, like, let me tell you about 5 minutes in my ideal client's life moments. And just, maybe put a little timer on and do a little free write of how your client is starting their day today. Just have a bit of fun with it. And I always like to make things funny and silly because that's more fun for me. So you might just get a little wild. It never needs to see the light of day, but it will give you practice making those little mini stories.
Love it. So that's task, everyone. Go away and put a micro example into your copy. Bonus points if you make it funny. Have fun with them. You don't even have to publish it, but play around with writing down the micro example that your ideal client is going to be like, oh, I was checking Rightmove. How did she know? I hope you found that useful. If you've watched to the end, I'd really love to know just like what's one takeaway from this session for you. Like Lauren said earlier, you can find her at, is it truerwordsbylauren.com?
Yes.
Truerwordsbylauren.com. And you can also find her inside Amplify. If you're watching this and want to have Lauren's expertise for free, in that I pay her and you don't have to pay her, rather than it's all free, then chat to me about Amplify. That's where we help you grow a group program. And getting great at copy is one part of that. And if you want to find out more, I'll drop a link and you can just book a 15-minute quick call with us to have a chat about that. Lauren, thank you so much. Lauren's checked in today from Japan because she is traveling, which makes us sound so international and cool. I hope you enjoy your trip, Lauren. I appreciate you
Thank
dropping
you.
in for the call today. See you later, everyone.